What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla Spine, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down what's happening with the whole Israel situation, how this could affect the markets, what's going on with some big news that's coming out and data, and how on earth the new pieces of news for Tesla could affect the markets as well. But before I begin the doubles information, before I talk about what my price prediction is for Tesla Spine, all these different tickers, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, we have a very, very nice range between this 170 support and 175 as resistance. Tesla could see a very, very interesting move depending on what happens with the whole Israel situation. So I want to first talk about that before I break down any news and the charts for all these tickers. So what's happening in the situation? As you guys may have already heard, what happened was Israel basically bombed a building in Syria. Okay, and they ended up killing two of Iran's top commanders. That's very important. So after that happened, Iran was very, very angry. They were very, very vociferous after that. This happened on April 1st, of course. And then, as a result of that, Iran launched an attack on Israel. This was a retaliation attack. They launched 300 drones and cruise and ballistic missiles. And I looked at a bunch of sources to verify all of this. I'm not just looking at this one, but many sources show that that's what ended up happening. And instead of landing anything, 99% of them ended up being shot down by the Israeli military defense system, the military and their allies, so everyone together. So what I do find that's kind of good is the fact that these missiles ended up not killing way too many innocent lives. Way more lives could have perished if they ended up landing. And it is still horrible nonetheless. And I just want to say I condemn both sides as they're both involved, of course. And I just want to say that I just want there to be peace. And I condemn the losses of innocent lives who had nothing to do with this. That is horrible on both ends. Now, we could pick sides, point fingers, do whatever you want to do, guys. You're free to do whatever you want and believe what you want to believe. But the truth is, innocent lives pay the biggest cost. And these politicians who are involved, they don't really, get involved in the battlefield. They just do what they have to do. And once again, those innocent lives are the ones who pay the biggest cost. It's children, women, men, families who get torn apart by things like this. So I once again have a lot of sympathy and empathy for the people out there who suffered going through similar situations. And it's very, very tough. So once again, with this whole situation, it's very, very horrible. But let me just make this very clear. The attack by Iran, the counterattack, if you want to call it that, the retaliation attack, when they did this, it was very, very ineffective. Almost everything that they launched ended up failing. And I'm not sure if it really makes much sense for them to just try to continue to do this. If Israel has this much backing, a very, very impressive defense system. So I think that the best move would be to just kind of calm down. They let their anger out. They did what they had to do, and just calm down now. Cool off. And that's what I think is what's starting to happen right now. The situation does look like it's easing a bit. So the U.S. has come out. President Joe Biden said that the U.S. will not support an Israeli counterattack on Iran. I consider that a good piece of news because we don't want this war to escalate. And then on top of this, Russia has come out. Reports are saying that Russia is urging restraint after Iran's attack on Israel. So both sides are just saying that we need there to be peace. They need to calm down. They need to restrain themselves. If that ends up happening, that would be a good piece of news. From what I'm seeing, there are a lot of reports that are suggesting that Iran may be done. They might be done with their attack, their retaliation attack, or whatever. They may be done. The U.S. is also urging both sides to just cool off, to calm down, to stop this. So if that happens, if Iran does not attack again, and we just remain, as we are until the market opens, the market could rebound a bit. We could see a little rebound. But if Iran does something by surprise between now and the time the market opens tomorrow, if there are more attacks, this could still be bearish for the markets. So I want to make that very, very clear. It really depends on what Iran does and what Israel does as well, if there is some kind of counterattack operation or not. I'm going to be waiting during this period, so you have to be prepared for anything. But as of right now, from what reports are suggesting, what I'm seeing in the news, it seems to me like both sides look like they just want this to cool off. Looks like Iran may be easing the situation, It's a strong possibility, and the odds are favoring that based off what I'm seeing from the different countries and different sources. Okay, so if this ends up cooling off, this would not be as significant for crude. Yes, I think crude is going to continue to go up, but if the attacks continue on both sides, if Israel starts attacking back and back and forth, crude is going to skyrocket. Okay, if Iran decides not to, if Iran says, "Hey, we launched our attack, we're just done from here, we're angry, but we did what we had to do," and Israel says the same thing, they end up not attacking each other from this point on. Crude could spike a bit, but it might just slow down and not really run way too high up, and that would be decent for the markets if that ends up happening because it won't be as impactful to inflation in that case. So, as of right now, the odds favor the situation kind of cooling off, easing, and that could be a little bit better for the markets, especially because Iran tried to attack and they failed to land anything. They almost land nothing. About 99% of their attacks failed, according to reports. So we'll see how things go. So for tomorrow, it's going to be Monday, April 15th. Okay. For this period, we have, let's see, an hour before the market opens, we have some manufacturing numbers. Might affect the market to some extent, maybe not too much. And then later on, we have some bill auctions coming out. So maybe the 3 month and 6 month are going to be the two biggest things that affect the markets tomorrow in terms of data. I think the market's going to end up responding more to this whole Iran situation. But this could affect us to 3 month and 6 month bill auctions at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What else could affect the markets would be on Monday, tomorrow morning. We have Goldman Sachs and Charles Schwab announcing earnings. I'll be giving you guys a report about this as well in the morning just to see how things look. As far as Tesla goes, there are a lot of pieces of news coming out about Tesla. In particular, Tesla's slashing prices of its premium driver assist option by half in the US. It used to be $199 a month. Now it's about $99 a month. But don't forget that this is not just a typical FSD. You have to be, supervising it and other things like that. So it's something worth noting. I just want to note that this is making a lot of headlines. People are very, very excited about this, and this could help get more demand for their products, which will help build more data collection for Tesla and things like that. So I did talk about this a little bit on Saturday, so I'm going to just focus a little bit less on that. I saw a new headline come out about the Cybertruck. Deliveries have reportedly halted for about a week because of an issue with the accelerator pedal. Not the best of news for Tesla, so this might be a little bit negative for the time being. Could cause Tesla to underperform a bit, but the overall market's also going to be affected by this whole situation too. Wells Fargo has given Tesla an underweight rating, saying Tesla is going to underperform. Citigroup is neutral on Tesla, and Jefferies is saying to hold on to your Tesla shares, but they did cut their overall price targets. They're still bullish on Tesla, but not as bullish as before. Price risk ratio is down here, still a little bit low. We'll see if this shifts. And then don't forget that Mondays do tend to be green 53% of the time on Tesla, so that's kind of more optimistic. We also tend to see more green around 10 o'clock a.m. We tend to see more volatility, typically green. And also during the final hour of the day, Tesla does tend to push a little higher. So watch for that historically. That's all I'm seeing in terms of data. In terms of its volume, we had about 64 million, so very low volume. Tesla's slowing down, looking a lot more choppy than before. And the short volume is kind of low right now, so there's not really a whole lot going on with it. So for Tesla, I do have a little concern. That's the fact that there's a possible head and shoulders like structure that's developing. But in order for that to play out, you need to see Tesla lose this support right here around like the 169 area. If we lose 169, I can see Tesla falling all the way down to 165. That's a pretty big drop. You can make a lot of money off that if you were to trade that. It's not financial advice. And for bullish, you want to see Tesla hold above 173, our 200 EMA. If we hold above that, we're going to easily push to at least 175, in my opinion, all the way back up to this high. Now, whether Tesla bounces or not is going to depend a lot on what happens with the whole Iran situation. If Iran keeps attacking, if Israel starts a attack, and these things keep escalating, crude is going to go higher, and the whole market could dip more, and yes, Tesla could dip. But as of right now, that looks unlikely, and the odds favor the market trying to rebound. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla kind of dips a little bit to 170.5, tries to rebound, retest 173, and this remains kind of choppy since volume is very low. We might just trade sideways tomorrow. I think that Tesla might underperform a bit looking at the technicals and also the bad news about the Cybertruck halt. So look for a test of 170, maybe goes a little bit lower, and then tries to rebound a bit, and then we just trade kind of sideways. I think that's the most likely possibility for Tesla. I think that it might underperform a bit looking at the current setup, but SPY may show some strength if we do see a very, very nice counter trend rally. Okay, so I think Tesla may dip a little bit in the morning, then try to rebound, make its way back up into the low 170s, maybe pop a bit higher, then come back down and still close very flat. But I still think Tesla might underperform a bit compared to SPY because of this bad news about the Cybertruck halt, and also because of this head and shoulders like structure and how technicals are looking, at least for now. So we've also been stuck in a range for the last couple of weeks. If you look at the way Tesla's been moving, hasn't really made much of a massive move. It's been stuck going back and forth and back and forth. So this suggests tomorrow Tesla may dip a bit, then rebound with the market. So look for that support right here at this 169 to 170 area. Might rebound a bit with the markets depending on how the situation goes. Retest 174 to 172, then come back down and close kind of flat. I find that to be one of the most likely possibilities because Tesla lacks volume. It's not really making big moves. However, SPY may do something a little bit different. Now, if Iran keeps attacking, if Israel keeps attacking, whatever, you know, if the attacks continue, SPY is going to dip all the way down to 507. If the attacks are done with, if we're not going to see much more escalation by tomorrow morning, SPY could grab liquidity again in the pre-market at 508, then start to rebound to 512.5, then 515 is going to be coming next, and we're going to be looking for a bounce. It all depends on what happens with the news. That's going to be key for us. As of right now, the news is looking like it appears that Iran is slowing down on their attacks, and that might be it. So we might get a bounce on SPY back up to 515. The odds do favor that, a bounce in the markets. This could help Tesla try to rebound a bit, but it might start off a little bit weak because of the Cybertruck halt news that came out. Might come down a bit, rebound with SPY in the market, retest this 200 EMA, then drop back down and trade a little bit sideways. I find that to be more probable for Tesla. SPY might outperform Tesla, start pushing higher to the 515 area because of this potential halts that could be coming in the attacks. So that's going to be very, very key. Make sure you watch the levels like called out. If we're bearish, look at 507. If we're bullish, it has to break past 512.5 and eventually 515. I favor it kind of like grabbing liquidity and starting to push back up to 515. But it depends on the attacks and such. So we'll just have to wait and see just to be safe. For Nvidia, we're on a bit of a downtrend, but we're approaching some key supports. We had this previous resistance becoming support. So we have support at 872 and also 865. We have resistance at 877, followed by 885 and 892. We could dip a little bit more and then try to rebound, or we could rebound a little bit from here on Nvidia after this big drop. I think that's a little bit oversold, and I think that it is due for a little retest of 885. So I do see a potential bounce that could be coming as long as the situation doesn't escalate. I favor a bounce, and I favor that the situation is not going to escalate. In case it does escalate, be prepared to watch support at 862, not to mention lower levels like 853. But I don't favor that's going to happen. I feel like it's more probable that Nvidia is going to try to rebound anyways, and the situation won't escalate too much. I think that's a little bit more likely. For the QQQ, which is going to be heavily dictated by Nvidia, if there are more attacks, it's going to come all the way down to 434 than 432. If there are less attacks and the attacks end up halting from both sides, okay, I could easily see this thing trying to get back up to 440, if not 442. I think tomorrow my prediction is it might dip a little bit more, retest 436. Then as time progresses, it's going to slowly push its way back up to 440, if not 442, for a little counter trend move. Because when you look at the range for the last couple of weeks, it's been back and forth price action on the QQQ. As we approach this support zone, the 436 area, we like to get bought back up. So I might be looking for a counter trend move so long as the attacks do not continue on Israel and also by Iran or whoever it is that does it. I just want to make it as clear as possible. All right. So I want to make that very, very clear. I'm hoping that Israel does not start a counterattack against Iran after this situation. I'm also hoping that Iran just stops with their attacks and we just try to be peaceful from here. That's gonna be the best thing. So that's what I mean by like Israel also getting involved. For Aapl, if there are more attacks, I could see this thing dipping to about 175, if not 172.87, and then trying to rebound. If we don't get more attacks, I could see 175 being tested in a rebound. I favor this dipping to like 175 or something a little lower and then rebounding back up to 178. So I think Apple's on a nice little rip right now, showing some strength compared to the market. Might dip a bit, then try to rebound. So look for that very, very carefully. On Palantir, I'm going to now transition to the other tickers where I tend to talk a lot quicker around. Palantir is on a bit of a dip right now. We're going to be looking to see how it ends up moving. There's a bit of a dip that's coming right here, but watch the support at this 22 area to see if we get a rebound or not. If we do get a rebound, we could see a test of our 20 EMA at 22.7 all over again. If we fail to break 22, look for a bigger dip. I think that Palantir is going to dip a little bit more. It might be coming down a little bit closer to 22, but then we might see a rebound as the most likely possibility to 22.5 to 22.7. I say that because of its range from technicals and also because of what's happened historically, and also because of the fact that the situation in Iran slash Israel, it looks like it's just kind of like cooling off a bit. So let's hope that that ends up being the case. And I do favor a bounce if that ends up happening. That looks a lot more probable. For Supermicro, we're approaching support right now at 878. If we hold this, look for a rebound to basically 900. If we lose 878, look for a dip all the way down to about 850 before we try to rebound again. It looks a little bit weak, but watch support at 878. We'll see if this holds. It really depends on the whole situation as well. If the situation de-escalates, I could see this trying to rebound, and I do favor that a bit more on Supermicro. I think the 200 EMA is going to be a big test. It might try to bounce off this, so watch for that very carefully. Rivian is looking very oversold. It's been dropping way too hard. Look at $9 and then 8.8 as a key support zone. Might try to rebound off that and come back up to at least 9.5 to fill this imbalance. If we lose 9, look for 8.8. I think it's going to base around there and try to rebound. SoFi depends a lot on the big banks. It could dip a little bit more. It's about 7.1 or so. But every time we hit the 7 to 7.1 area, we do like to bounce. There's a head and shoulders like structure that suggests there could be a bit more downside depending on the bank earnings. The bank earnings will be key for this. Might dip a bit towards 7 to 7.25 and then try to rebound after that. So watch for that very, very carefully. For AMD, we're on a very, very nice downtrend right now. So we watch to see how it reacts to about 160. If we bounce off 160, look for a move all the way back up to about 165. And if we lose 160, we're going to be dipping to 158. I think that AMD might dip a little bit more to about 160. Then we might rebound to 165. That's very close to our 5 EMA. So I think we might see a little counter trend move. I think it might try to bounce soon. We have a bullish divergence developing too. Might dip a little bit more, then try to rebound. So watch 160 to 158 as support and look and see if we rebound off that. ARM is looking a little bit weaker. We're going to be looking for a test of about 123, might come a little bit lower, then try to rebound to about 127 or 50 EMA. It's also range bound, and we're on a slight uptrend right now, so it might dip a little bit more than try to rebound. Watch for that on ARM. For Coinbase, we're at support. 240 to 236 is going to be our support zones. We have a very, very nice range right here. This 236 range to 240 as support, and we also have resistance around this 260 area. My gut tells me that 236 to 240 might be our support. Then we might try to rebound to about 251. We'll have to see if we end up getting a rebound or not from there, but watch for that very carefully. For Amazon, what I think is going to happen is we have 185 as support. We might dip a little bit more. It's about 183.7. We have this like 50 EMA as our support. We might come down a bit, then try to rebound. So watch for that very, very carefully off this yellow line. So look at how it bounces off the yellow line, the 50 EMA. We might come down a little bit more and try to rebound off that. So watch for that very carefully. I find that's to be very probable. For Meta, we're barely at support right now, around 507. We could dip a little bit more. If we lose 507, look for 500. At off one of those levels, it should bounce. We should be looking for a bounce of either 500 or 507. I'll have to see what it does first at the support. But my gut tells me there could be a counter trend move if it does follow the whole market. For Microsoft, we have support. So it likes to bounce off this 419 to 420 area. We'd like to get rejects off 428 to 430. Might come down a little bit more to about 420, then try to rebound to about 423. So watch for that very carefully. For Google, we're on a bit of an uptrend right now. So watch support at about 158. If we lose that, we're going to be coming down to about 155. If we hold this, we're going to be rebounding towards 160 plus. I think that Google's on an uptrend, might dip a little bit more to 158, maybe go a little bit lower, all the way down to 156, then look for a rebound after that. So I see a little bit of a dip coming before it tries to rebound. The VIX, if the market continues higher, watch it lose 17 flats, our 5 EMA. If we lose that, 16.16 is coming. If that ends up being lost, that's because the market is going to be on a little counter trend move. If we bounce off this and start pushing above 18 again, that's going to be bearish because the market is still kind of weak. So give it some time. The dollar is at resistance at this 106 area. Uh, we're at resistance. If we reject off this, 105.5 is coming again. If we continue to hold above this, that would be like a little bearish for the market. So give it some time and see how it reacts to resistance. So for SPY, I'm going to be looking for a bounce, okay? Very close to this 508 zone. Could come down a bit, then try to rebound and start pushing for 515. If we don't see the war escalate and if things kind of cool off a bit, look for a little dip, then a bounce. If the opposite happens, if the war continues and they continue to fire shots and it just doesn't slow down, yes, we're going to dip more. We're going to be looking for like 507, 505, and low levels like that on SPY. Same thing on the QQQ. Expect more downside if the war keeps continuing, if things get worse and worse. As of right now, like I said before, When I'm looking at the situation, it's looking like things are not really getting worse. It looks like things may cool off soon as Iran is showing some restraint. And I really hope for the best. So I find that to be more probable, and that could help the market try to rebound. But for Tesla, the problem is I just got this news that the Cybertruck has been halted. So Tesla might start off a little bit weak, retest 170.5, maybe a little bit lower, could dip a little bit more, then try to rebound. Maybe the market helps Tesla rebound to our 200 EMA. We could even retest our points five retracement zone from a Fibonacci standpoint, which is right about here. So I think that it might dip a little bit, rebound a bit intraday with the market, cool off a bit, then get a kind of like a flat day. We also lack volume, so it might not be that crazy, but I find that that's to be a lot more probable for Tesla. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning to report their bank earnings, what happens with the whole Israel situation, and also what happens with the overall market. Thank you for listening. Have a great day and peace out.